Welcome back to AI 575 with Arrow. This is the Precipice. So I'm not adjusting the initial aim point and using a tiny bit of anhyzer with an accurate windbreak river on a full send for this ace run. And at the time this tournament was posted, the tournament record was 27 down, I think shared by Lonely Belgian and D-Barbs. So in order to chase that, I needed to be running Crow's Nest 1 and 2, at least for the front nine. And they're early enough in the tournament that if it doesn't go well, you can just restart. You lose a bit of coins and XP using that strategy, but if you're trying to maximize your scores, I think that's something you just got to kind of do. In this case, the top of the disc is right at the bottom of the second Wi-Fi curve, and the aim point was just to the right of the top band. Very similar throw, got really lucky by not going OB there, and why I generally don't run Crow's Nest 2 for the ace unless it's the right circumstance, like this in this case. But it's a very similar throw to Sunshine Glade 4, so that's just how I think of that hole. In this case, I did slider all the way to the right, and I think I'm using an accurate glide musket on a full send with trying to get the right amount of hyzer. There's a little like latch in the mountain there that I was kind of perched in for my aim spot. I think it was like the bottom of the middle arrow was the aim point there on that shot. And I think my go-to is the accurate glide musket now in Crow's Nest 3. That seems to work pretty consistently. Anytime I get a left to right wind on this hole, I do slider all the way to the right and use the amount of hyzer is the right side of the disc and the edge of the Wi-Fi curve. I'm splitting that distance. Bottom of the bottom arrow is on a horizontal line with the clouds to the right. And then I always try to bounce off of that bank there. And you can usually get within like 110 to more often like 120 to 30 feet, something like that. Aim point here is the bottom of the right side of the top band. And I'm treating this like it's about a 145-foot throw if I was on level ground. So that means the top of the fuse here is a little bit higher than the halfway point between the first and second Wi-Fi curves, which I consider about 150 feet. But on the uphill shot, got to add a little bit more sauce. Accurate windbreak musket for me every time on this hole. The top of the bottom arrow was at the top of the tree that I was on a vertical line with. And I just try to sneak through this range of trees here and end up between the rock and the basket. Yeah, that's my go-to line here. I know a lot of people will use a forehand on this hole. I haven't gotten that down yet, but I don't have problems with the trees, except for hyper occasionally. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Here my go-to line is slider all the way to the right, glide skip ballista pro. The edge of the tee I try to make sure I can see, and then I aim a little bit below that. So that's like at the very bottom of the screen. Another way of thinking about this is like the top, there's a little ledge coming out of the Mando. And that's pretty close. Maybe I can describe that a little bit better on the back nine, but this is my go-to line, is just that high kind of spike hyzer. And this is an ace that I do hit every once in a while. It's a rare ace, and it always feels great when you get it, but it is a line that works for me. Here I'm using I think it was the bottom of the middle arrow is kind of like towards the bottom of the basket, but I was on a vertical line with the basket and the bubble. Accurate glide musket, and that's just wind dependent. If I get at least a 2 tailwind, I'll probably switch to the accurate windbreak musket there. Most other winds, I'm going to use the accurate glide musket instead. This is a slightly downhill shot, so I'm treating it like it's about a 45-foot throw-in with the accurate windbreak fuse, and that's a pretty routine eagle. Yeah, I don't ever ace run that one, again, unless you're really trying to go for broke, because I think you're way more likely to go out of bounds ace running than you are to hit the ace, so the differential isn't worthwhile for me. And here I'm doing a light glide ballista pro. My aim point is like right on the... Try to again describe it a little bit better on the back nine there. You can see I get really close. I try to bounce it off that cave wall on the right side of the basket here, just above those crystals. cliff hopper here, I usually use accurate glide musket. Aim point is the top of the bottom green arrow. I'm on a vertical line with where the edge of the cliff meets the mountain. So this is so nail-bitingly close, I've forgotten that. So I tend to definitely generally err going too far to the left because if you just, are anywhere on that platform, you can run it with usually an accurate windbreak fuse if you're within like 199, 200 feet. Anything over 200 feet, I generally run it with the accurate windbreak river instead. But obviously, if you go out of bounds there, then, that's pretty much a guaranteed par as opposed to an eagle bid. Top of the fuse is a little bit higher than the second Wi-Fi curve there. And yeah, that worked out great. Definitely think the cliff hopper is generally considered a bonus eagle, but 14, I think that's currently tied for my personal course record on Crow's Nest. I think the official course record is 15 down on it. So here you can see you've got the same aim point as before. Top of the bottom green arrow. It's right where the cliff meets the mountain. And this time with the 2-tail crosswind, kind of a little bit right to left. I think it was... Oh, man, that's right. I forgot how close I was on both of these drives. That's insane. 179 feet. So I'm probably going to aim on a vertical line with the basket. Yeah. So bottom of the bottom arrow is right at the bottom of the pin. And then I'm going to try to kind of go straight back. And the natural turn of the fuse should be balanced out with the 2 wind. Top of the disc is right at the bottom of the second Wi-Fi curve, which is about right for 180-foot throws from that spot. So I was feeling really good about hitting cliff hopper both times because, again, that's generally one that people consider a bonus eagle. So here my vertical line is like the left side of the cave. If you look at the circle, it's like where the left side of the cave meets the ground there. And then I'm always trying to bounce off that wall. I didn't quite get the bounce there, but it was pretty close. And I always use the Light Glide Ballista Pro for that shot. It's just my most reliable way of getting deep inside the cave and giving it an honest run. So, yeah, pretty routine there. Back at Crow's Nest 7 now. So here I've got the 3. This is going to be a bit of a tailwind. And it looks like I'm using the accurate glide musket. Yeah, now I'll use the accurate windbreak musket. I might have been thinking about trying to run this in this spot to try to catch up something. Yeah, I don't think so, though. I think just at the time, the ground action was not as intense. So didn't slide too far past the basket. And yeah, as long as, honestly, your main goal here is just don't hit the tree and don't hit metal. If you hit the tree or metal, you're way more likely to go swimming than you are to land on the platform. So do whatever you have to do to not do those things. Okay, here, so slider all the way to the right. This is a great win for this shot. Glide, skip Ballista Pro. I lift it high enough to where I can see part of the tee pad, then go a little bit tiny down. Almost full hyzer. Playing the camera pin just a touch. And man, so you can see the first time I missed a little bit left, and then this time I missed a little bit to the right. But especially with that 1 or 2 wind left to right, that's a pretty good throw for that spot. You have to adjust it a little bit, use a little bit less power and a little bit less hyzer if you get a right to left one instead on that hole. Here I'll go same as before. Aim point is in this case it's going to be bottom of the bottom arrow right on the top of the tree. And I don't move the slider at all. I'm going to do a full send with split disc hyzer to counter that 2 wind. And again, you'll see I'm probably going to sail right through the same exact range of trees, right between the basket and the rock. And yeah, generally with the accurate windbreak musket, I'm not going far enough to worry about the trees that are right behind me. If you do go up there, you can kind of run into some trouble on this hole. But I'm usually within, 40 to maybe 70 or 80 feet on a bad drive for this hole. So 63 feet, pretty routine, a little bit uphill. Moving on to Crow's Nest 4. So I don't quite get the wind that I was hoping for here, but the bottom of the bottom arrow is on a horizontal line with the cloud. And I'm splitting the distance between, on the bottom, there's a mountain range and there's a gap in the mountain range. I'm splitting the horizontal distance between that gap in the mountain range. That's my aim point. You can go back and, I don't know, get a screenshot or whatever if you really feel like you need it. Aim point here is the bottom of the top band, 124 feet in a 2 wind. So I'm probably going to treat this like about a 150 foot throw. Again, maybe 145 feet. I think I decide for like erring on, lately I'd been hitting the cage here and not quite giving it enough power. In this case, just a bit too much juice. Remember that shot, because you're going to see at the end of this tournament how close. Oh god, it's still just painful to watch. It was so close. Okay, so I got a 3 wind at like 430, something like that. So you can see I was not quite sure what to do here, but I decided to go light glide ballista pro. Slider all the way to the right, but not before the bottom of the bottom arrow is nestled and there's like a little crevice in the mountain there in the background. That's what I'm using. And then top of the disc is at the bottom of the second Wi-Fi curve, and not quite split disc hyzer, so that the natural fade of the Light Glide Ballista Pro. I guess I decided to give it a little bit more juice because I'm getting more of like a headwind kind of a thing. It's a good thing I did. Oh man, that was so close again. I mean, not nearly as close as the last one, but still pretty decent albatross run, especially in this wind. Yeah, there might be some more reliable lines out there from some of the other top tier players for that hole. And if I had already gotten the score that I get here, which at this point, if I can just birdie out, I'll get a 26 down, and that was the personal best that I'm posting here. If I already had a 26 down, I would run it here. I would run Crow's Nest 2 and or 1, probably both, in order to try to get the 27. But I hadn't had the 26 down yet, so I decided to play it safe with like the accurate glide pure there, and just try to park it, get a tap in, and then same kind of a thing on 1. Yeah. Here, slider all the way to the left, and I was debating running it again, but I decided, no, don't do it, just take the 26 and walk. So if I improve upon any of these AI tourney scores, I'll replace these videos. And again, I just get the other easy tap in. So I think 3rd best tournament score, right behind Lonely Belgian and D-Bargs. Congratulations to them. And yeah, 1 more B tier, and then I'm moving on to the A tiers. Like and subscribe.